Good morning. Okay. Anyways, I take two here. So basically, just to say one point from yesterday, as the Mishna Berura pointed out, which I was trying to say is that one of the most perhaps not known, followed halachot, especially for Shlach Tzibur, is that the Shlach Tzibur has to make sure not to make people answer Amen either at the wrong time or unnecessarily. So the two most common mistakes is that the Shlach Tzibur, like we said yesterday, he will stretch out the last word when you're supposed to answer Amen, which will cause people to answer Amen too early. Like by the end of a bracha of the Chazara, like Magen Avraham, he'll stretch it out because he's making a tune, he's singing it, and people are already answering Amen before he finished the word. That's one mistake, so they should not stretch out the last word, especially by the Imru Amen of the Kaddish. And the second most common thing is that the Shlach Tzibur will start the next part before people answer Amen. So for example, Baruch Ata Hashem Magen Avraham Ata Gibor. Before people answer Amen, he's already started the next bracha. And that's a big problem because if he starts the next piece, then you really cannot answer Amen according to maybe most or many opinions. So very important, the Shlach Tzibur should make sure A, not to stretch out the last word, and B, not to start the next piece until after the people have answered Amen. Okay, we're on Siman Reish Pei Bet, which is laws of Kriyat HaTorah v'hamaftir b'Shabbat. Aleph, Motzin Sefer Torah v'konim bo shiva. We take out the Sefer Torah and read 7 aliyahs. The Mishnah and Megillah says why 7, meaning that it's in order from Monday, Thursday is 3, Chol HaMoed Rosh Chodesh is 4, Yom Tov is 5, Yom Kippur is 6. Because the more you go higher, the more Kedusha, etc. So it shows you that Shabbat is even higher than Yom Kippur. Mosif, and if you want to, you're allowed to add, which what we call Mosif, and usually where we add by after Shishi. The best way to add, and we're going to get to it, is by continuing and reading 3 new Pesukim for every new added aliyah, but technically we'll see, I think that if you need, you can actually just go, you can also repeat. Haga, V'hu adin b'Yom Tov mutar leosif al min aqrim, and Rama adds you're also allowed to add aliyahs on Yom Tov, which comes to tell you that you're not allowed to add aliyahs on a weekday, and the reason is because people need to go to take care of their things. So, v'yesh omrim Yom Tov en losif, says the Rama, some say not to add on Yom Tov. And that's he says the minag by the Ashkenazim. Milvad b'simchat Torah, except on Simchat Torah, that we add a lot. So the Rama says that the Ashkenazi minhag is not to add on Yom Tov. What's the reason? If I'm not mistaken, we'll see maybe that the reason is because if you add, then you're making it like it's Shabbat, because the whole point is that Yom Tov is less than Shabbat. It's only 5. If you add 1 or 2, you're going to make it like Yom Kippur, etc. But of course, the minhag of Sephardim in general is that we do add on Yom Tov as well. So let's see, Mishna Berura. Aleph, Motzim. Yesh lomar berich shemeh b'tfilat Aron. You should say berich shemeh when you open the Aron. Ben Meshad ben Mechol. Mishna Berura says even during the weekday you should say berich shemeh. That's the minhag of the Ashkenazim. They say berich shemeh even anytime they take out the Torah. But the Sephardi minhag is not to say it, is only to say it on days that there's Musaf, which includes like Rosh Chodesh, etc. V'hanoten, which also actually means people don't sometimes get mixed up. On Chanukah, l'chora, the Sephardi minhag is not to say Berich Shemeh, because there's no Musaf on Chanukah. V'hanoten sefer Torah v'makabalos tzarich sheyeh b'yamin. Whoever is giving the Torah to someone to carry, and whoever receiving the Torah should receive it and give it with the right hand. And even if you're left-handed, it says you should hold it or carry it or at least accept it with your right hand. This is interesting. A lot of times we say that it goes by your right hand. Here it says it doesn't. Now, I guess that assumes that you're able to hold it with your right. Generally. Okay, why says the Sharatzion? Because the Torah was given from Hashem's right hand, so to speak. Bet, it's a mitzvah from the Chachamim to read the Torah on Shabbat. Who started the minhag? Who started Takana? Moshe Rabbeinu. How many takanas do we know that started from Moshe Rabbeinu? It's funny. It's like, what do you mean? So it's Moshe Rabbeinu, then it's Doraita. No, it's Dorabanan, so to speak. But Moshe Rabbeinu was one of the first Chachamim. He was the first Chacham. Meaning, it's funny how you can have something from Moshe Rabbeinu. It's not Doraita because it's not from the Torah. But Moshe Rabbeinu, he's instituted it. Now, the Gemara, I think, says, or it's mashma, that he didn't institute how much to read, how many aliyahs. He just said to read it 3 times a week. That we don't go 3 days without Torah, because it says that they went 3 days without water, etc. So therefore, he said to say Monday, Thursday, Shabbat. Now, who instituted how many aliyahs and all that? That was more later, I think, from Ezra Sofer. Okay? Shiv'ah. שבעה, בספר קטן ג' הנה בזמן המשנה היה המנהג שהראשון מהקוראים היה מברך הברכה לפניה והאחרון היה מברך הברכה לאחריה. The original minhag in the times of the Mishnah, interesting, is that only the first aliyah would make a bracha before reading. No one else would make a bracha before reading or after the reading. And only the last aliyah would make a bracha after the reading. So you only have one bracha at the beginning, one bracha at the end. I'm saying, kulan and everyone in the middle would be yotze with their bracha. And then the minhag became, in the times of the Gemara, that everyone will make a bracha before and after. Why? The Gemara says so that no one should think that you don't have to make a bracha before and after. אין כדאי להוסיף לעבוד בברכות, אך מורכב בצורך כגון התונה או בנתינה, אין לחוש לזה. It says in Mishna Berura, some say you should never add aliyahs, even on Shabbat. Why? Since originally the minhag was that the ones that they would add, the aliyahs you would not make a bracha before and after, like we just said. Now that the minhag became that everyone that has an aliyah says a bracha before and after, so some say therefore don't add, because why should you make people say bracha before and after when that wasn't the original takana? But then he says that's just more of a chumrah. If you need to, it's no problem. Fine. Hey, Mosif. You shouldn't add too many aliyahs to not cause too much tircha d'tzibura, meaning hardship for the congregation. But if it's going to cause machloket, people are going to get offended and upset that they didn't get an aliyah, then definitely you can give out aliyahs. כתבו האחרונים, בשבת שוכרים בית פרשיות, יש שוכרת מניין חצי אחרי משבעה בכל סדרה, דין שוכרת לערבי קצת מסדר ראשון, בסדר שני, שלושה בסדר על כל פנים, או שבמה שעושים על השבעה בסדר שני, כיוון אין שום חיוב לנוסיף. Whenever we have double parsha, so how should you split up the aliyahs? It says you should have 3 aliyahs read in the first parsha. The fourth aliyah should read a little of from each right, should combine the 2 parshas, start from the end of right, and the last 3 aliyahs should read on the second parsha. That way you have half aliyahs in the first, and you split up evenly. And then it says even though if you're going to add aliyahs, if you add aliyahs, let's say you're going to add 3 aliyahs. So then l'chora, if you only do 3 aliyahs and a half in the first parsha, you're going to have like 6 and 7 aliyahs in the second parsha. It says no, we don't look at the ones you add. That's the extra. We don't look at that. We look at the minimum. Okay, that's the minhag. The minhag is that always when you have a double parsha, it's the 4th aliyah that combines the 2 parshas. I think I'm not sure if it's really brought down somewhere. Someone said that therefore it's a segula to get the 4th aliyah in such a case for, like, I don't know, maybe finding a shidduch. Okay. Then we just על השבעה בסדר שני, fine. ו' אין להוסיף וכשכל יום טוב בשבת וכל יום טוב להוסיף על שבעה כמו שיש שבתות השנה דרך בשביל שתוסיף בקשת יום טוב נגרע ממנו המעלה לשש שבתות אך כשכל יום כיפור בשבת טוב לחצר של על שבעים משום של השעה פרט מכוונים שבזים במילאת הכפרה. So we just said, according to the Rambam, the minhag is not to add aliyahs on Yom Tov. What about if Yom Tov falls on Shabbat? He says that for sure you can add, no problem. If Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbat, which was actually this, right? So there it says it's actually better not to add. Why? Because assuming when you add aliyahs, you're going to change you're going to always try to add, read new pesukim. So he says that if you look at the aliyahs of Yom Kippur, each of the aliyahs end, most of them at least end with a part of kapara. So it's good to end with those. That's why it's better. He says even when Yom Kippur falls on Shabbat, not to add any aliyot. Okay. Zayin milvad Simchat Torah except Simchat Torah dechdei sheyizkei kol echad v'chol b'Torah v'Simchat Torah. The reason why on Simchat Torah they add aliyahs is because everyone wants to get to read from the Torah when we're finishing the Torah. Chet. אין המפטירין רוצה לומר למפטיר קורא פרשה בפני עצמה בחובת היום וזה ממילא גם כן ראי לדרכתנו דינם כדי ראשונה ביום טוב. He says that there's a proof that me'ikar adin from the letter of the law, even Ashkenazim hold that you could add aliyahs even on Yom Tov, because the rule is on Yom Tov we said there's 5 aliyahs and the maftir. The maftir is always a separate reading. So if it's that means really we're kind of actually doing 6 aliyahs. So that must mean therefore we're allowed to add even on Yom Tov. Okay. Seif bet Shulchan Aruch. מותר לראות עולים הרבה, אף על פי שגרזה מה שגרזה ותחוזים וברך המכך כלום. Says the Shulchan Aruch, technically you're allowed when you add aliyot to repeat the same psukim over and over. You're allowed. Hagav Yeshusim Rama says no. Some say it's asur. And it says that's the minhag. So that's the minhag that in general when you add aliyahs to try to always read 3 new pesukim, and even Sephardim hold that's better. But he says that, as the Rama that, but on Simchat Torah the minhag was that because there's no room, there's everyone wants to have an aliyah and the parsha is short, so there everyone agrees that it's okay. You can repeat. Okay. Seif katan tet Mishna Berura en mechach klum umekol makom eno ole min haminyan lo shosiv lechol shnei pesuchim al mashachar harishon that's the ole minyan mashudum besof siman chuf lamed zayin. If you repeat any the pesukim, it doesn't count as a new aliyah, which means let's say we need 7 aliyahs on Shabbat. Let's say after the 5th aliyah, the 6th aliyah repeated what the 5th aliyah read. That doesn't count as the 6th aliyah, which means you need to have 2 more aliyahs because you have to have a minimum of, let's say on Shabbat you have to have 7 aliyahs that each aliyah read at least 3, or it says b'diavad at least 2 new pesukim. Okay, Yud Psum Torah Yishamim Du Adin B'Hatuna Nogin Shlachos Lezem Ashgar Kvar Ahad Af Hatuna Levad Torah Nogin Karama. The Mishna Berura some say that also by a Chatuna Sheva Brachot, when there's a lot of people that want to get aliyah you also could repeat, but he says that our minhag is even by a Chatuna not to do that. Okay, maybe we'll do one more, I guess. Okay, Gimel Hakol Olim Levinan Shiv'ah. אפילו אישה וקטן שיודע למברכין, אבל אמרו חכם אישה לא תקרם פיצויים פני כבוד הציבור. Anyone counts to be part of the 7 aliyahs, even a lady. Look at this. You would think if this is Chas Shalom. It's saying according to the Gemara, even a lady could get an aliyah. She counts as she counts. And also a kid under bar mitzvah. However, says the Gemara, Chachamim said, we don't call up a lady. Why? Why? You would think, because maybe it's not, he says, because it's not kavod of the tzibur. What does that mean, not kavod of the tzibur? They say it means like this. Maybe the Mishna Berura will say it, because that since ladies are not obligated to learn Torah like men are, if you give an aliyah to a lady, it looks like there's no men here that know how to read. Only the lady knows. So it's not honor for the tzibur. That's they say. That's the reason. Interesting. Okay. Hagav elu davcha mitzarfin ben hakoruim, but and a lady and a kid under bar mitzvah, you cannot use all 7 for the lady and a kid under bar mitzvah. Just they can help to finish the aliyahs. A non-Jewish servant has the same din of a lady. But if the guy's mother is Jewish, so then he's a full Jew. No problem. You cannot read Torah with your head uncovered. If you have a rich, honorable, chashuv person in the tzibur, and you want to give him an aliyah in front of a Talmid Chacham, he says it's okay, because by calling up a very wealthy, distinguished individual, it's a kavod for the Torah. You're saying, look how important the Torah is, that we call up these important people. A mamzer is allowed to get an aliyah. Let's see the Mishna Berura. Wow. Oh.
A mamzer is allowed like a woman is allowed?
No. Like regular she's allowed. Says that only by the 7 of aliyahs of Shabbat you can call up a lady or a kid, technically a lady, or a kid under bar mitzvah. But for the 3 aliyahs of a Monday, Thursday, you cannot call a lady or a kid under bar mitzvah. That's what the Magen Avraham holds. According to the about Shabbat, also on Rosh Chodesh, Yom Tov, and Yom Kippur, you cannot call up a lady or a kid. From this, it sounds like the only time you can call up a kid under bar mitzvah is only on Shabbat. The Katan. Let's say the only kohen in the crowd is a kid under bar mitzvah. You can call him up for the first aliyah. That according to this opinion, according to Magen Avraham, no, there's no obligation to call him because it's only a kid over bar mitzvah that there's a mitzvah to give him. Says the Mishna Berura says that's the minhag, that if the only kohen is a kid under bar mitzvah, we don't give him the aliyah. He says there, based on the achronim, that the minhag today is never to give a kid under bar mitzvah an aliyah except for maftir. כתב מגן אברהם בשם מסכת סופרים שאנשים אף על פי שאין חייבת בתלמוד תורה בכל מקום חייבת לשמוע קריאת ספר כאנשים ונוגעות לזר בזה ועד הרי יש מקום שנוגעות אנשים נוסעים לחוץ מהתורה. The Magen Avraham writes in the name of Mesechת Sofrim that ladies have to come hear the Torah reading, according to the Magen Avraham from the 7th. But he says that's not the minhag, and in fact some have a minhag dafka, the ladies leave when they take out the Torah. Whatever reason. Okay, so this is saying that the minhag is that you only give a kid maftir. The Sephardi minhag is that technically you could give a kid aliyah even on Monday, Thursday if it's a very necessary, like if he's almost bar mitzvah and he came to celebrate. Sometimes they come a few days before his bar mitzvah to celebrate. So there's what to rely on to give that kid an aliyah, but only one aliyah. And also Shabbat also, technically if you really need, you could give the kid an aliyah, meaning especially the 7th. The Bani Shchai says that you could, the only aliyah you could give the kid is the mashlim, according to Sod. But okay, I think the minhag in general though, even for Sephardim, is not to give a kid a regular aliyah, only give him like mosif or maftir. יודגימו שיודע למי מברכין ומכל מקום אין יכול להיות מקרא את העולים, דהיינו שהוא יקרא בקורבן מספר התורה והעולים יעמדו אחריו ולאחר יחסבו יוסים דחבתם בשמי רבנו עד שיש 2 סדרות ומשהו בין 13 שנה בחזרה שיביא 2 סדרות לעניין זה ומכל מקום כשאנחנו קורא אחר זאת התורה הקריאה לגמרי בסוף וברגעים ושם שיש לכם בזה אפילו אם לא הביא עדיין 2 סדרות חדר החיים דוחות קורא התורה אחר כמי שאת לחק. Even though you're allowed to give the kid an aliyah, but the kid is not allowed to be a Baal Koreh. You need someone over mercy to be the Baal Koreh. Then he says, but let's say there's no one else that can read. Then it seems like if there's no other choice, you could have he's allowed. Yudal kulam orubam. And of course, the Shulchan says that the kid has to at least be old enough to know who he's saying a bracha to, at least like 5-6 years old. Orubam. Imam Yisrael. So it says the Mishna Berura that the majority of the aliyahs have to be given to a man over bar mitzvah. Imam Yisrael tetvav adal tavi leYisrael ma'aliyah v'chay b'chol mitzvot tetzayin berosh hamegula haynu afilu hu qatan v'chen qatan shu poheach danish b'chadav qeruim uzrotav me'uchtafav megulin sur l'chotol l'Torah. He says that even a kid under bar mitzvah is not to get an aliyah if his head is not covered. And also it adds that even a kid under bar mitzvah is not allowed to get an aliyah if he's not dressed properly, which means if his arms are not covered. Which is therefore that's the source where whenever the chazan, if the chazan is wearing short sleeves, like very short sleeves, let's say, then many have the minhag that he should wear like a tali to cover, meaning the main thing is at least cover till the elbow. Okay, I think we'll stop here. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen. Hazaku baruch, kol tuv, besorot tovot, yeshua d'rahamot.